I like to walk and talk. So it's let's see, what is April? I don't know, 13th, 2026. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. There's stuff going on in Iran and Ukraine. Myself, I currently live in America. And, I'm not really like part of any groups. I'm like outsider. Don't really have a lot of people like influencing my life. And so like, I really get to just pick and choose what I think is best for me and my world. And so this last election, I was teaching yoga at this yoga studio that I love the owners and I love the people there. But I was offended. I couldn't articulate it at the time, but I was offended by how they responded to the election. And not because I didn't agree with them, but because I made the error of holding them to a standard, which maybe is unfair, I had this idea that you're teaching these concepts, and we get into, at this yoga studio, it's not like a lot of other yoga studios that I've participated in where you just show up and you just do the asana, which is the physical practice. No, I mean, this place gets into yoga philosophy, and they talk about a book called the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and there's another book called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and there's all these ancient texts that describe what yoga is, why it's relevant, why you should do it, and really, most importantly, signs and symptoms that you're on the right path. So like, how can you identify that yoga is working for you? What's some of the stuff you can look for? And some of the things are external or physical, and some of them are non-physical or non-material. And I have this opinion, and again, I think it's probably an unfair opinion, but is that if you're going to teach yoga and you're going to be a yoga instructor, then you need to be able to demonstrate some of these things that these ancient texts, hi cutie, that these ancient texts talk about. And so one of them is it talks about how we respond to evil. Now, evil is a very interesting word. A lot of people can define evil in different ways. But I suppose I would define evil as intentionally trying to harm another for the sake of oneself. We call it that. Intentionally provoking harm to another person for the gratification of the self. Call that evil, okay? So that'll be our definition today of evil. And if that's the case, what is a yogi supposed to do when they confront evil? When they see it? When it's in direct observation of the yogi? And in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it answers this. And I believe it also answers it in the Yoga Sutras. And it's very simple. How we address inequity and evil is it says that you're indifferent towards it. You pay it no energy, no mind. You don't draw it into your worldview. You don't give it an ounce of anything. It says that we are indifferent towards the evil of others. That's a bold thing to say, and that's why I think I'm being really unfair. I viewed it as people were throwing temper tantrums because they didn't get what they wanted. And I think there's some truth to that. But then it's also this existential fear, right? That we're now seeing, right? This last election, a lot of my friends had this existential fear that this maniac was going to come into the White House and do maniac things. And here we are. I don't think anybody can disagree with the fact that this guy's off his chain. I mean, he on his Easter Sunday post, is enough to demonstrate that. And I don't ever really want to be political on this channel, but I mean, like, anybody with a sane mind observing this situation with Iran and with Lebanon and with Israel and with all these places, like, this isn't what we wanted as a country and as a world. Okay, so fine. The question still stands. If you're a yogi and you are engaging or having to observe evil, what is the appropriate response? As a yogi, like, what is it that you need to do in order to address that evil? And the truth of it is to be indifferent towards it. Give it none of your energy. Continue your practice. One of the things that also is super beneficial is this word called forgiveness. How do you forgive the unforgivable? Why should you forgive the unforgivable? The bombing of 185 or 200 schoolgirls while they're learning in Tehran is essentially the worst crime you can commit. Essentially. I don't know what the worst crime is, but that's up there. And it is absolutely normal. In fact, probably healthy to be completely outraged when you see or hear about these things. To be indifferent. That's the work. And I don't mean you don't care. It's more or less surrendering to the idea of lack of control. I can only control my sphere of influence. And in psychology, they use these crazy words. Do you have an internal or an external locus of control, right? The power of being able to forgive. Do we do it for the other person or the other party, the other entity, or do we do it for ourselves, for our own peace of mind? These are all questions that we confront by ourselves, right? Because in front of others, maybe we're dishonest with ourselves, with others. Even by ourselves, maybe we're dishonest. But the point is that the power to forgive, right? And the power to not allow people that we don't like to determine our peace of mind in our own life and in our daily behavior. As a yogi, we want to have a calm mind. We're trying to reach something called samadhi, which is this epic level of concentration, okay? And so that means all exterior noise is going to get in the way of hitting this samadhi, or there's other dhyana, there's these other forms of concentration that one seeks if there's a serious practitioner of yoga. And so as you go out into your day, there's a lot of things to be mad at. Conversely, there's a lot of things to be absolutely adoring of. The world is beautiful, and there is absolute horror in it. Try to look for what's going well. Try to look for what is beautiful and what is just and what is real. Spend your time in deep meditation and prayer. All day long. Satyam, Suvyam, Sundarum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Narayana. Whatever it is that you choose. But don't think about you. Think about gratitude. Think about hope. Think about love, and patience, and tolerance. I have this little statue in my altar, and it's the statue of St. Francis of Assisi. And the most beautiful prayer. Where there is darkness, let me bring light. Where there is sadness, let me bring joy. Where there is poverty, I'm ad-libbing at this point. Let me bring wealth. Wherever you are, I hope you're having an amazing day. Just remember, forgive. Work on forgiving, especially the unforgivable. People that don't deserve it. Those are the ones we should be forgiving. Whether you believe in a God or not, I do. I believe in a lot of gods. And it's not our job to distribute justice. It's not our job to distribute, pain to people that have done wrong. It's our job to be calm and to love God and to seek God and truth no matter what's happening. We don't justify any type of harming others. This is like the first thing in yoga. Yoga Sutras, ahimsa. I like to translate it as non-harming, not non-violent, non-harming. You don't harm yourself, you don't harm anybody else. You certainly do not harm yourself in the act of harming someone else. It's the apex of ignorance. Sometimes the most charitable thing we can do is to be quiet and to just be silent. Right? Wherever you are, I hope that you have an amazing day. And remember, you are so very valuable. You are so very loved. We need you here. Do the work on yourself. Okay? Work on forgiving whoever it is in your life that needs to be forgiven. Work on your prayers. Work on your mantras. Maybe turn off the news. Maybe turn off the social media stuff and just work on having a loving relationship with yourself. Namaste.